Search engines can be a useful way to find general information on your topic. However, a poorly executed search can pull up over 100 million results, so it is important to know how to use a search engine to effectively limit your results to those you want. It is also important to develop skills to judge whether or not the information you find is reliable. It should be noted that an internet search on the topic of Bible or theology should be done with caution. Disciplines such as education and the sciences have strong state and often federal support. Because of this, disciplines like these are mandated by state and federal law to release their research to the public. This is often done by making it available at no cost on the internet. Disciplines such as theology and biblical studies do not have similar financial support from state and federal institutions. This does not mean that there is no worthwhile information on the internet for studies in this area. It does mean, though, that the resources from the open web will be limited. We are doing research on Mark chapter 8, verses 34 and 35, where it says, "Then he called the crowd to him along with his disciples and said, 'Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me and the gospel will save it.'" We are looking on how this passage, and particularly the implementation of an individual taking up his or her cross, should impact leadership. For this, we will want to use Google's advanced search. Unfortunately, Google's advanced search does not show up on their initial screen. We will need to do a general search on leadership to begin. This pulled up nearly 500 million results. We can then go over to the Settings tab and select Advanced Search. We will begin our search by simply typing in servant leadership in all these words. Mark 8 goes in quotes under this exact word or phrase, and since we are looking how the cross implements leadership, we are putting the word cross in any of these words. I also put .com under none of these results. This eliminates most products and websites that are just trying to sell a product. Let's do our search. We pulled up approximately 150,000 results. This is still much to look through, but let's take a look. Let's look at the PDF entitled Ancient Slavery and Servant Leadership. Before we take a look at it, there's a point of concern. This website's home base is Comcast.net. Comcast is simply an internet service provider. This website simply looks like information posted by an individual who uses Comcast as a provider. This does not suggest anything necessarily discrediting, but neither does it provide credibility. For example, if the host site were an EDU site, it would suggest that there may be some credibility in the site. We cannot simply take this one piece of evidence, however, and reject the site. Let's take a look at the article. The first thing to look at is the authorship. Who is William H. Shepard? Does it give us credentials in this article? While the article does not, we can learn a little bit from the URL address. If we cut back the URL a bit, it takes us back to the individual's home page. It tells us a little bit about William Shepard, but there's a link to his CV. His CV shows that he actually has some experience in scholarship, including a PhD in New Testament studies. Just because we consider a source reliable, it does not mean that we accept what they write without question. Even though the author is credible, the length of this work and the brief bibliography question whether or not it is a credible resource to be used for academic research. Let's look at another resource. There's a PDF entitled Servanthood, Jesus' Countercultural Call. Before we click on it, take a look at the URL again. This has an edu suffix. This provides some credibility, but we need to look further. The first thing we see is that this is an article published in a journal entitled Bibliotheca Sacra. Bibliotheca Sacra is Dallas Theological Seminary's primary journal. It was written by John Hutchison. We do not need to scroll down very far to see more about John Hutchison. The article also has footnotes on the bottom of each page reflecting resources the author used in his research. There are further resources that we should look into for our own research. Because of the author's credentials, the fact that the article was published in a professional journal, and the footnotes, this is a resource that can be trusted. Once we are satisfied that the information is suitable for an academic paper, we save the PDF and collect the bibliographic information, including the URL and when we accessed it. As this tutorial has shown, there is valuable information on the internet for your paper. However, one needs to discern the validity of the content by looking at the URL, the author, and his or her credentials in a variety of other areas to determine whether or not it is worthwhile for your research paper.